Hey, folks, question for you. What do these four things have in common? We've got the Pledge of Allegiance, abstract artist Jackson Pollock, a senator from the 1950s, Joseph McCarthy, and the always impressive Daniel Day-Lewis, who plays John Proctor in the movie adaptation of The Crucible. Well, you might be surprised. It's communism. Yeah, communism pulls all these things together. Isn't that nice? Actually, that's not quite true. It's not communism directly. It's mostly Americans' fear of communism. Um, that was predicated through the era of 1920s to about the 1950s, 60s, that really drove all these things together. And next surprising thing is this is the reason the idea of communism and people's fear of communism in America is what drove Arthur Miller to write The Crucible. So, aside from the historical background of the Salem witch trials, we also have this secondary historical understanding of this era called the Red Scare and McCarthyism that Arthur Miller was writing this play in response to. So, over the next couple of days, we're going to take a break from the play and we're going to learn about this era. And our goal is that students will be able to explain and evaluate, take a look at those two verbs, the rise and impact of McCarthyism in American society, um, on American society and politics. All right. So how we're going to do this though is this is a pretty big topic, right? We're not quite a history class, so I don't expect you to like spend a week on this, but we are going to become experts in a couple of selected small topics. We're going to do what's called a jigsaw. And it's like group work, but kind of. It's not the kind of group work where you get paired up in the class and you're like really hoping to get paired with that one student who you know is going to do a really good job, and you can just kind of ride their coattails while they do all the work, and you Snapchat about how your grade in English is finally going to go up because you got paired with Sally. It's not that kind of group work. You're all going to be responsible for learning about two topics, and then you're going to really narrow it down to one topic here on the second day. So as you go through these things, really make sure that you are understanding your topic. Like ask yourself these three questions. What is your topic? You got to know it well enough to teach it and explain it to another student when we get back together on Monday. And you also need to be thinking about how did my topic connect with this idea of affecting American society, and what conditions allowed this to happen, whether it was a person, whether it was an idea, whether it was an event, what allowed this to happen in American history. So let's take a look at how this is going to play out in the classroom. So on Google Classroom, you're going to notice that you have four or three new assignments. Um, Ideally, we're going to get through 204 on Tuesday, 205 on Wednesday, and maybe you can start taking a look at 206 before next Monday. But if you don't, that's okay. 206 we might end up doing on Monday together. I'm betting we will. So let's take a look at this first assignment, which is McCarthyism and the Red Scare. So even though I'm making you this video, I still want you to read these directions. Read these. Make sure you have these. Make sure you understand what I'm asking you to do. So there are some key terms up here that I want you to define as you're reading your articles. And then mostly you're going to pick two of the four topics that I have. So Joseph McCarthy and McCarthyism, HUAC, Red Scare and the Cold War, or the idea of blacklisting. So once you pick which two think you're most interested in, you're going to read an article and watch a video on that. Obviously, you're going to answer some questions, but I also really want you to take some notes. So I'm going to ask, I'm not going to ask, I'm going to require that you annotate these things as well. So say if I pick the Joseph McCarthy article, when I try to open that up, it will automatically make a copy for me in my own Google Drive. So this way I own it. I can make comments on it. I can underline it and highlight it as whatever I want, right? Because think about this. We are going to start learning about these things on Tuesday. We're not going to talk about them as groups until Monday after your 4-day weekend, right? That's a long time. You can barely remember what you had breakfast yesterday. Come on, try to do it. You don't remember. Um, Much less are you going to remember like who Joseph McCarthy was, this guy that you read about for 30 minutes in English class last Tuesday when it's Monday, the next Monday. No, you're not. So make sure you're downloading your brain. Summarize the things that I recommend that you do is summarize paragraphs using the comment tool, underline or highlight important passages, ask questions or observations. So really, summarize things and make comments so we can come back to them. We can use that underline tool. We can use this highlight tool, and everything's great. So annotate, watch the videos, answer the questions. I do ask your questions to be written in full sentences. Okay, So that's the first assignment. The next one, this one's tricky. So again, make sure you're paying attention. Actually, like pick your head up off the desk, maybe turn up the volume a little bit. So you're going to be taking a look at a primary source from this era. And so primary source is like someone who was writing or creating something during the time of McCarthyism and the Red Scare. Because if we're going to talk about evaluating the effects of McCarthyism, I want to hear about those effects from someone who actually experienced them, not necessarily just what a history book has to say. So this one's tricky, like I was saying. There's a couple of steps to it. So you're going to head over to my Unit 2 Textual Development and the Crucible page on my website, and you're going to see that those same 4 topics that you chose 2 from are here. And so between the 2 that you chose, you're going to pick one primary source to evaluate. So for example, if I chose the Red Scare and the Cold War and Joseph McCarthy, I would either choose this primary source or this primary source. I don't need to do both. I just need to look at one critically. All right. So let's say I'm going to take a look at this Joseph McCarthy speech. So this is a written primary source. So what I would need to do is download, make a copy. If you click on this link, it'll automatically make a copy for you of this primary source analysis document. So I'm going to open up that McCarthy speech. I'm going to have my copy of my primary source analysis document. I'm going to read this document, which is from Joseph McCarthy back in the 1950s, and I'm going to start analyzing it, you answering these questions here. The only one that's a little different is this one here, because it's a video primary source, so you just have a different primary source document page to do. All right, so when you get that done, if you have time, we're going to take a look at assignment number 206, which is a little bit of a longer writing that's asking you to explain and evaluate those things that we talked about at the beginning of this video. So explain the historical context, evaluate how it affected American society. If you don't get this done or started, that's okay. Our goal is to have assignments 204 and 205 done and recorded in such a way that we remember them over the long weekend so we can talk about them on Monday. And then I'll give you some time to discuss in small groups, talk about these questions, come up with ideas, share sources, and then we're going to write. Okay. I hope you guys are well. I'm excited to get back and talk to you about this. I think it's really intriguing how this all fits together, and it totally changes the way you start viewing the Crucible once you understand not only the Salem witch trials, but also the communist hunting that was going on in the 1950s. All right. Good luck, folks. Talk to you soon.